Live at local morning radio, coming to you from the studios of Magic Broadcasting on Laird. This is the Kramer Show. This is the Kramer Show. The phone is now open, and the phone operators are standing by. Turn down your radio when you call. Pay attention and be ready to go. 850-233-9988.
I said, if you're having the best time of your life right now, let me get it. Yes, sir.
This is Kramer.
It's time for Scott Major. Scott Major from the Major Parúas and the Storm Help team with us today for an entire hour. You got any questions about post-hurricane Michael? This is the guy to call up. Scott's been doing this for a while. He's got over 30 years of doing insurance claims and cases. The man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Scott Major. Hello, good morning, sunshine.
Hey, pal, how you doing today?
Doing super. How are you?
I'm fantastic, man. I was proven right over the weekend, right?
Sorry?
The Jesse Smollett next steps, huh?
Oh, the Smollett thing. It's the greatest story. It just keeps on giving. It really does.
I guess I was right last week when I said they should sue for the amount of money that was owed, and that it would either force an admission by him that he actually did it, or it would expose the possibility of a civil action, which could then uncork all of these real reality facts that would show that he was not being all that truthful. And again, it's not about Smollett that we're talking about, you and I. It's just about justice, in the system. We're not interested in trying to put this guy in jail for the rest of his life. We're simply interested in showing that, our youth and everybody else that, when you commit fraud or lie or try to benefit by manipulating the system, that there is some consequence to that, and that consequence is real. If you get, away with it, you don't get to go out and announce to everyone how you were innocent all along. It's interesting. Yesterday they had the two gentlemen who were paid to hurt him on the television because Smollett said he didn't even know them and he had nothing to do with them. And they came on and said, unequivocally that they were involved and paid to do this, and they were duped, into doing it. And they didn't have to come out. They could have backed him, but instead they came out and showed their character and said, we were totally wrong in this, mea culpa, we're wrong. We apologize and feel horrible remorse for this. And we're not going to allow somebody to make a ridiculous statement that we weren't involved and he was totally innocent. And I think the federal authorities are going to not only do an investigation, but I think they may have a good wire fraud, or mail fraud claim there.
Yeah, I mentioned when I saw that it looked like the city was going to get together and throw a lawsuit against, the prosecutor, et cetera. I mentioned, I was like, yeah, Scott said that, and it's going to be interesting to see how this eventually plays itself out. In that case, I wonder how much would they want him to reimburse? How much did the money get up to? Do you know?
It was over $100,000. It was quite a bit of money. And a lot of resources. And I think it's more than just about the money. I think it's about, you have the police force that did a masterful job of collecting evidence after everybody went on the radio and television, and said that this guy was totally innocent and this was a race-based act. You have to ask yourself, after seeing the massive fraud that was perpetrated on the American people about the collusion and about this, you have to ask yourself, beyond whether the reporter should admit they're wrong, who's really behind this? It's not a conspiracy theory. It's, what has caused our society to morph into this secret political machine, where very, very wealthy people are manipulating the system for their own personal gain. They got all these reporters and all these people to believe in a story that was palpably false. And listen, you can go into that report, and I'm sure whenever it's released, you could probably find something that you could argue is not above board or is not fair or whatever it is, and then they'll hang on to that. If I were the Attorney General, I would redact all that information. It's interesting. When people wanted the FISA warrants, put out in the public, it was amazing how the Democrats and everybody said, oh, no, we have to wait. and we have to wait, and we have to wait, and you can't be impatient, and this is wrong, and we need to protect the integrity of the process. And then when the Mueller report comes out, now you have to release everything, and we don't need to protect the process. We need to enforce the process. I find that to be humorous, but it just shows a bigger problem. Because if you ask even Democrats secretly, many of them are like, yeah, I do like a lot of the things that Trump is doing, but I don't want to tell anybody because I don't want to embarrass myself. You have students in high school and college that are afraid to come out and say that they believe in some of the things that Trump's doing because they're afraid of the retribution that's going to be visited upon them. You have liberal institutions that are driven by this mass collusion that has essentially ruined our youth. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're for Trump or against Trump. That's not the issue here. The issue is about free speech and the discourse of ideas and not propagating false information, manipulation like they do in socialist and communist countries in order to fabricate a certain belief system that has inculcated our entire youth into this mass anti-Trump movement when they don't even know why they're against it. And it's not even that. You have Trump announced today and yesterday that he's, engaging in prison reform and conviction reform where people can get jobs, and he has the lowest, unemployment rate among African Americans, and he has the lowest, unemployment rate among Hispanic Americans. He's doing more for those who were challenged before than the prior president of color. And again, why doesn't anybody take notice of that and say, you know what? That's a phenomenal thing, and we're super happy about that. Why weren't people celebrating when we found our president was not guilty instead of having these news reporters still now double down because they're so embarrassed that their fraud didn't work? And you're talking about collusion. Well, if you believe so much in collusion, how about the fact that we actually know that the Democratic Party met with operatives of the Russian government when they got this dossier, and it's unequivocally proven true. And again, it's not about picking sides. It's about being fair and about being aware as a public of what's really going on, and then making your own decisions based on information which is equally available and not on manipulation and shut down Twitter accounts and mass hysteria that is driven by a few people who hate what Trump stands for and are so anti-Trump they want to invalidate the results of the election.
I first of all, I want to say I'm always so on point with what you're saying. You bring up some just fantastic points. They're concrete. They're spot on. And I also concur about the discourse of ideas. We need more of that. We need more people that are fundamentally on some level and more closer to the middle of the road. We have too many people that are so divisive in their thoughts politically. You got and which, by the way, is fine that you believe certain things, but when you close your mind to everything. Just for example, this morning I defended Biden on some level because I don't think what Biden is being accused of is sexual improprieties. I think it's more of just a deal with him and his space and not knowing his space, and he invades people's space, and it's odd, and some people don't like that. And there's a big difference in that and some kind of sexual aggression. But you have people that are on the other side that want to point to that immediately and not look at it with any kind of common sense. And I think that's dangerous. I think it's dangerous on both sides.
Well, I think you're right. And I think that if you look at the Biden thing, under the Democratic theory, all women are believed no matter whether they're telling the truth or not. So therefore, he has to immediately resign, just like the lieutenant governor in Virginia was supposed to immediately resign, but now he's continuing in his profession. And so, too, for the governor who wore a black face, and years ago, and he's still governor. It's amazing how we have this selective memory or selective enforcement when it comes to, the true feelings of people. And it just shows you the manipulation and the agenda-based mentality. And that's just not a good thing to teach our youth or to poison our Americans with. I have no problem if you want to take a stance against Trump or against Biden or for Trump. But there should be intellectual discourse. There should be, the exchange of ideas. There should be when it comes out that he's not been indicted for collusion and no indictments are forthgoing, you shouldn't be Adam Schiff and be able to be a politician and represent Americans and say, hey, I absolutely still have evidence of collusion. When you know it's a palpable lie, it's a fraud on the court, and he's been espousing this, along with Smolin, the other Democrat, they've been espousing this for years, saying conclusively they have evidence. And since they're on an intelligence committee, the American people believe that. They think, oh, my God, maybe it's true. You know, when's the shoe going to fall? And the indictments are going to come. And you just assume that things are true. You assume that Mrs. Clinton was completely exonerated because that's what the media tells you. It's just an unfortunate thing, and it would be nice if we just had the exchange of ideas and that news reporters reported news, and then the opinionators, the Rachel Maddows or the Tucker Carlsons or the Hannitys, then they could have their opinion shows. But it shouldn't be that every news reporter is now an opinion maker and now a driver of news, and that if you go into a classroom like I was in the other day and you mention the word Trump and it sickens people, yet they can't describe for a moment in a sentence, in a paragraph, or in an hour what the reason is they don't like him, except they've been told not to like him. Right. It's just a tragedy. It really is.
Yeah, it's an insane place that we're in. Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team, 850-233-9988. I like it. He gets fired up about politics, and he shot out of the bed in the morning like a cannon and darts right towards it. I love it. But we've talked for 4.5, 5 months with Scott Major, and we've taken call after call from people that are going through just heinous situations with insurance companies, with mortgage companies, with contractors, people that are going through some major fires right now. So if you've got a question, 850-233-9988. And again, we're at the point now where people have gotten money from the insurance companies. If they're going to get it, I would assume that by now they've at least gotten, some amount. 9 times out of 10, though, it's not the amount that they were originally asking for, or it was originally the amount that they were looking for, but now they realize they have more damage to their properties, whether it be commercial or residential or whatever, and they're going to need more money. And I think that's more so the case than that I hear than anything right now.
I think you're right, and I think that what we're finding is that now we are morphing into the next phase, and that is that some payments have been made. People are still out there fighting for the results, and they don't know what to do. I can tell you, we just had a claim recently where we had a client who was not being paid money. It took quite some time to get an estimate completed and then to get a reinspection from the carrier. But once they did that, instead of offering $80,000 or something in that vicinity, they're offering $500,000.
Wow.
It's amazing how when you have a thorough investigation, you have your support, and you get the proper people involved, how even though the wheel is still turning slowly, even though I'm having to fight myself, even as an expert or a professional, whatever you want to call me, that results can be born, by this thorough approach to attacking these claims. And I'll tell you that this is really the next step. And I think that most people who are out there, if you haven't been paid, I can't emphasize enough. I just cannot emphasize enough. Find out, if you're represented by counsel, find out why they haven't paid you. Find out in writing. Have them write you and tell you in writing what is the reason why they're not paying you. Is it because they're missing documents? Is it because you don't have a covered claim? Is it because your deductible exceeds the amount? What is the specific reason so that you can get a better handle on whether your next step should be to get a lawyer involved, or whether your next step is to close the book and move on with your life, or your next step is to consider what your insurance agent actually sold you. So I just think that those things are really, really important. And I think that a lot of people are at the point where they're so frustrated that some people are, again, giving up. Some people don't know what to do. You're talking about 5 months of interest on all the money the insurance companies haven't paid that you and I know in large part is due. Maybe not for everybody, but there are literally tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars that are available, and yet there are probably many claims that aren't being paid, wrongfully aren't being paid. And every day that these people are not getting the professionals involved is frustrating. As angering as that may sound to you, the only way you're going to get recovery is to get lawyers involved. And there are lots of suits being filed, lots of lawsuits being filed. And I'll tell you that it is something that is a tragedy, but it has to happen. And you need to get on that train and either have a lawyer get on the phone and talk to the adjuster or sue. In many cases, when people are calling, I'm picking up a phone, I'm calling the desk level adjuster, and I'm saying, listen, what's the problem? And sometimes they're saying, I'm just missing some documents, or here's what I don't have. I don't have support for those windows you're asking for. I understand you put it in your estimate, but I don't understand why you think you need new windows. They aren't broken. And you don't have an engineering report, or you don't have the science behind it. You have a leak, and the leak doesn't mean that it was caused by the storm. You have to have somebody come out there and causally relate that damage. Otherwise, Mr. Major, we'd pay you the entire $100,000. So, I mean, these are important things. There's also the undisputed amounts. Every estimate that has been provided by the insurance company that says the following amount is covered damages, why haven't they paid that to you? They can't condition that on anything. They need to pay you. And if they haven't paid you on the amounts they agree are due, that's bad faith. That's triple damages. That's the potential for getting attorney's fees and triple damages on those amounts. That's a significant thing for people to do.
Scott, hold on one second. We're going to take a break. We have a call on the board. Termite damage discovered after repairs began. We'll get you, Moses, and you can ask him your question coming up. All right? Stand by. We'll be right back.
The Kramer Show. Unfortunately, we'll be right back. This is NewsTalk at 101. The Kramer Show.
Kramer, hold on a second.
6 to 9 daily on NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Major's with us from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. Scott, let's go to Moses. Moses, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, guys.
How you doing?
I want to say I appreciate all that you're doing because a lot of people don't know what to do or when to do it or how to do it. So I appreciate that.
Thanks so much, pal.
My question is the front doors were blown open in my house. The roof was blown off in two different places, and the wind came through the living room, blew out the living room window. And so after I had the drywall taken down, I noticed that the wood around the window is eaten up with termites, and so a new window won't go in. And then the damage extended into a fireplace, and so when I pulled the fireplace down, the heatilator, the wood, the exhaust stacks, there were two pipes in the chimney, and I couldn't figure out why there were two pipes. I found out that the inside pipe had actually been lifted above the house and then dropped back down into that cavity. And so the fireplace is eaten up with termites, so that means we can't put a new cap on the roof. And I just wanted to know where we could go with this.
Sure. Typically, termite damage is not covered by homeowners insurance. It may be that you have significant enough damage in your house where the amount of money that you're being paid may in large part end up covering the termite remediation as part of the general contractor who rebuilds your house. But as a general rule, it's not covered. There are really creative ways around that in certain situations. For example, if you can determine that there was an imminent collapse of the house as a result of the termites, you may be able to fit under the collapse exception of the insurance policy. It's a highly technical thing. But the bigger picture I would have, if I were you, is to look at your entire damages and to determine who's going to repair those damages and whether a general contractor would agree to include the termite remediation within the context of all of the money they're going to get through your insurance proceeds. And you can generally negotiate with a good general contractor, or we could recommend some to you that can provide that service. So what I would do is, if you're not sure, when you get off the phone, dial the 844-800-LAWS number. That's the 844-800-LAWS, and have a discussion with either me or someone on there about, here's what my total damages are, and here's what the termite repair is going to be, or I don't know what the termite repair is going to be. Can you help me with either getting more money for the claim, or with a contractor who'd be willing to repair everything as part of an overall price?
What about the brick? I've had brick issues on the front of the house where it blew in the garage, and so the brick literally just blew in on top of the wood wall, and they allowed for, I think, 60 square feet of brick repair, and there's absolutely no way that the brick's going to be able to be matched because of the age of the house.
And under the matching, there's actually a specific statute out there, under what's called the matching statute. They're going to have to replace all that brick and not just some of it. And so the likelihood of you being able to recover more than just the 60 bricks or whatever, how many bricks they gave you, 60 square feet, is likely going to be reversed. And if you're not, whoever you're with, if you have a lawyer, then you should tell them that. If you don't, you should call the 844-800-LAWS number, because that is a classic, what we call a matching statute, which says that they have to replace the entire brick if they can't match it accordingly, and they'll have to explain to you or to us what the basis of only paying part of the claim is. A lot of them do that because they think that you don't know that there's statutes out there that will provide for the payment of the entire thing.
Okay. Well, guys, again, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'll let someone else take your time now. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Moses, thank you very much. There you go. Boom, like that. 850-233-9988. If you've got a question, hop up, get on the air, 850-233-9988. We'll be right back with Scott Major.
The Kramer Show will be back in a sec on NewsTalk at 101.
Right now, please welcome a man who needs no introduction.
Kramer in the morning. NewsTalk at 101. NewsTalk at 101.
What's going on? We got Scott Major with us today. Scott Major from Major, Parúas, and the Storm Help Team. His phone number, 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. Website, stormhelpteam.org. You can hop on the phone this morning, pick his brain, ask him anything. I would say he's 1,125 of 1,125. I don't know how many phone calls we've taken on the show over the past months, but it has been many. And if you send me a message at some point later in the day, I 100% of the time always get back to people. I can't tell you, by the way, how many people send me Facebook messages and they go, yeah, I heard you had the lawyer on, and then they misspell your name. And they go, I just wanted to talk to him about such and such. And I will send them a message. I go, awesome. I say every time, I go, when you call, say that Kramer said for you to call, and then I give the 844-800-LAWS number. Every other day, I get people that send me messages, and I send them to you. Or at some point randomly, they'll call during a day when you're not on, and I'll give them your phone number on the air.
That's really nice.
I know, it's nice. I'm a nice guy. You're nice. We're nice together. We're buddies. We're chummy wummies.
We get results. There's no doubt about that.
Well, you definitely are getting results. That's for sure. And I'm just playing around with you. Let me go to Cliff. You're up with Scott Major. Go ahead, Cliff.
I've got a couple questions. A screened-in enclosure. My insurance company's telling me they'll pay for the enclosure, but they won't pay for the screen. I'm not sure I fully understand that. And I know we've probably covered this a lot. A privacy fence, is that covered under your insurance? I'm going to hang up and listen to the answer online or on the air. Thank you.
What was the second part?
Fence, privacy fence.
Does insurance cover privacy fencing?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So telling somebody that we'll cover the enclosure, but we won't cover the enclosure, is like saying we'll cover the roof,
but we won't cover the roof.
Everything that's required to put on it. I mean, again, that kind of silliness reflects either one of two things: either an utter ignorance on the part of the desk level adjuster, or some miscommunication between the adjuster and the insured, the listener. So those kinds of cases, you're going to get coverage. If you have a problem, then get a hold of us, and we'll make the phone call, or we'll proceed, in a litigation environment to try to get that. In terms of fences, most fences, are covered under your other structures situation. There are some exceptions to those, and you have to look at your specific policy to know. Some of them require them to be detached, some of them to affix to the property. So there's all kinds of different types of fences depending on your coverage. But the best thing to do is to look at your coverage, look under the coverage B in your policy, and you'll see where it'll say what it will cover, and then it'll say here's what the exclusions are. And again, if you're not sure, pick up a phone. It costs you nothing. Call the 844-800-LAWS and say, listen, I want to send you my policy, or this is what my policy says. What do you think? And we're happy to help you. But that sounds like a pretty consistent message that I hear about partial payments when full payments should be made.
Let me tell you something. I at this point, I wish I'd gotten into the fencing industry, because everybody I talk to cannot find anybody to save their lives to get a fence up. I don't know why that's a big deal, but it's an issue. Do you do fencing? Do you have hammers and nails?
Yeah, we do fencing, and we serve donuts while we're putting the fence in. So
wow.
It's a donut fencing company.
Wow, it's a donut. It's a fencing concierge?
Yeah, exactly. And you create, we have donuts, we have fences, and we give out Love and Kisses T-shirts at the same time. So
wow, well,
we all wear Love and Kisses T-shirts to sort of, let everybody know who we are. And it's a fun thing.
Look, with my fencing company, we show up and we do free massage before we go to work. Of course,
cow, that's ahead of us.
Yeah, well, I know it's forward thinking. Forward thinking.
You are just what an innovator.
You're the funnest. I love it. Let's go to Tom. Tom, you're up with Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team.
I got a question, but let me answer your massage thing. Does Biden own your fencing company?
No, it's Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft owns it.
Oh, okay. My question is I'm still trying to find somebody to represent a motorhome. My motorhome, they came out and gave me an estimate repair of $23,000, and I've had two other appraisals done, and one is 71 and one is 83,000. There's that much difference in the. And I talked to the insurance people yesterday, and he said, I think I'm going to stick at my 23,000.
Okay, well, I got two suggestions for you. Suggestion number one is to write them a letter and ask them, thank you very much for telling me you're going to pay 23 or whatever the number is. Why haven't you paid it, first of all? Because we're not debating about 23. We're debating about the difference between 23 and 71 or 81.
Oh, they sent me the 23 check already.
Okay, they sent me. Okay, so then ask them, can you explain to me the specifics of why you're not covering all of the items that are on my appraisal? Have they told you that? Other than saying, I'm not going to do it, they're required to explain why it is they're not covering. And if they don't, the next step is to hire a lawyer, because you're not going to get any more money if somebody's just recalcitrant or just, militant about, we're just going to stick with our number regardless of the intelligence behind that number.
Well, but they've sent two estimators out. So I need to write them a letter and ask them the details why.
Tom, go ahead.
Correctly. In other words, what's happened is their own estimators have found a number that's higher than 23, and if that's the case, that's got those bad faith written all over it.
Yeah. Well, the second estimator told us, as far as he was concerned, it was totaled.
Even better. That sounds like a really good case, and unless there's some coverage exclusion, I'd really like to hear from the desk level adjuster as to why he has a $60,000 difference between your estimate and his own people's estimate.
Yeah.
What ultimately has to happen in that case? If you've got, I mean, a drastic monetary, difference like that, do you have to, once you get involved, do you have to go to some kind of, what do you call it, where it's like mediation or whatever, or how?
You have three basic options. You can get involved. If we get involved, we'll pick up a phone. We'll try to find out, lawyer to public to desk level adjuster, what the problem is and what the distinction is. If not, you can go to what's called pre-suit mediation if you want. You can go to what's called appraisal, which is like a process, like an arbitration proceeding, or you can litigate. And depending upon what his facts are, it may be smarter to go to appraisal, it may be smarter to litigate, depending upon his facts. Sometimes when you file suit, you get paid sooner than when you appraise the claim, because the insurance company realizes they're going to spend a lot more money than an appraisal, where there might be differing numbers and they might hire some guy who says the number's less. If it's their own appraisers that are saying, their own estimators who are saying this number 71 and 81, then appraisal might be a good option, and that happens expeditiously. You don't even need a lawyer for it.
Okay, so we've sent them letters. I've listened to you talk before, asking them that they need any other information. Why is there a hold up? I've sent them many emails. And I finally talked to him the other day after his second appraiser came out. And I said, well, your appraiser said as far as he was concerned, it was total. He said, well, my appraiser doesn't have the right to say that. I'm the one that makes the final decision. I said, you haven't even seen the coach. He says, I've seen the pictures.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that's a classic case for an 844-800-LAWS call. In my opinion, I think that's a good case, and I think they have problems, and I would eagerly encourage you to get a lawyer involved, because I think you'll get an expeditious result if you do. But
well,
either way, sir, pick up a phone, call 844-800-LAWS, learn more about what your options are, and then you can decide whatever you want to do. If you want to get some more information, talk to us, and then decide you still want to handle it yourself, no problem. No problem.
No, I don't want to handle it myself. I'm so frustrated now. I'm just disgusted so much.
Yeah, this is lunacy. I agree with you, sir. Call us up and we'll take care of it.
Tom, it's 844.
And your number is what?
844. 844-800-LAWS. 844-800-LAWS.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. How often does that occur, Mr. Major, where...
Unbelievable.
Well, they'll look at a picture, and they judge everything based on some pictures that somebody took. I get that you can see damage but you're not there eyeballing it. And I think that's much more, important that, somebody look at the stuff rather than take pictures and judging solely on that.
Well, I think what's more distressing is to hear somebody say that even though my own insurance guy has told you this amount, I don't have to agree with them, is just preposterous. It's one thing if the guy says, listen, you're right, there's $81,000 of damage, but only $23,000 is covered, and let me tell you why. We don't cover tires or whatever it is that they're talking about. But to just unilaterally say, I can send my own person out there, and then once the person gives a number, I can just disagree with it, is just, to me, it's classic bad faith, and it's like the poster child for all of these cases. And it's happens a lot, and what happens with a lot of people, a lot of listeners, is they say, oh, I better just take the money because otherwise I'm going to end up with nothing. And they take the money and they go away. It's maddening.
Let's go skip to Kevin. Kevin, you're up with Scott Major of Major Parúas.
My question regarding taking anything to a lawyer is who pays for that? I understand that if it goes all the way, the insurance company pays for it. But if it's unsuccessful or if it settles before, how much do they, or who pays the lawyer at that point?
Sure. So if we're unsuccessful, you don't pay anything. We eat all the cost, time, money, effort that's involved. If we resolve the case before, let's say we engage in a bunch of pre-suit stuff, you pay a 10% fee. If we go to litigation, then that is a different fee, which is based on either how much money I can get from the insurance company or a percentage of the recovery, depending upon what you choose. Sometimes we can get a settlement, like I have a case right now going on where we got the client all their money, and the insurance company agreed that we would separately fight over how much money we're entitled as lawyers, and so we got the client fully paid, and now we're still litigating 6-7 months later about our own fees, and the client's on their way, with all of their recovery. So it depends upon the situation you have, but generally speaking, we try to leverage it in a way that maximizes the money to you.
And how does that work in with if they're reaching the policy limits?
So if you have a policy limits case, then whatever the policy limits are is the limit of what the insurance company has to pay, unless the insurance company acts in bad faith. So there's a couple different options. If, for example, you have $100,000 of coverage and you have $200,000 of damages, the insurance company typically only has to pay $100,000. If they act in bad faith and don't pay the $100,000 timely, they have to pay you at least $200,000 and maybe $600,000. Having said that, regardless of what you recover, if the reason why you only have $100,000 is because your insurance agent didn't insure you properly, then you may have a secondary recovery against the insurance agent. But the bottom line is to look at your particular facts and to determine how to maximize coverage under the contract you have that relates to your property.
Okay, so if they get me if the attorney gets me the $100,000, the lawyer takes 10% of that if they pay in a timely manner?
Yes. And what will happen is, depending on where you are in your case, we may be able to negotiate. If you're in litigation, we may be able to negotiate something different where, like in the other case where I was able to get you fully paid and I was able to fight with the insurance company for how much I should be paid. And so right now, in that one case, for example, if we end up with $10,000 or $0 or $50, whatever it is, the client's already been paid their money. So we try to negotiate in a way that gets you made as whole as possible, recognizing that if there is a fee that needs to be taken out, we'll take it out.
Okay, so there. When I keep hearing this, there is no cost to the policyholder. There actually is a cost.
Well, when you say there's no cost, we front the cost. Obviously, if a lawyer prevails, I don't care what lawyer you have, if a lawyer prevails, they're going to be paid. Now, there are situations where, like as in this example I used, where the lawyer has no cost. My client is not paying a penny, not a penny in the situation I just told you, because I'm seeking the fees against the insurance company. So it depends on the facts of your particular situation. But if you want a general rule, the general rule is lawyers charge somewhere, depending on the lawyer, between 10% and about 30% of the recovery you get. And then they try to get, if it's in litigation, they try to get the insurance company to pay those amounts, some or all those amounts, so that you have a lower nut to you. And the net of you paying is lower. That's the concept.
If you use
paid, but it's contingency.
If you use the example of $100K, and let's say that, around here, the insurance, the insurance company offers such a lesser percentage of what they really owe, and you hire an attorney, and the attorney, let's say that the carrier said originally that they would pay you, say, 30, but you're really it limits at up to 100, and you have that amount of damage. If you get an attorney, he gets you the extra, say, $70,000. It would, to me, be really worth it just to pay the lawyer $10,000 because he got you the extra $70,000. Does that make sense?
Well, I guess in a sense, yeah. If it was 10%, but if it's up to 30%, that doesn't. I mean, certainly it sounds better bottom line, but it may not be enough to fix the house.
Yeah, and what I would recommend you do, and I tell this with all the clients, is what you do is call. If you're going to use us, you call us up and you say, "This is what I need to fix my house. We need to make sure that we get this much money, that I net this much money. How do we go about doing that? How do we maximize that? Is it better for me to hire you as a lawyer? For you to just write a letter? What is it better for you to do?" And that's the best way to proceed. So call us and we'll give you a bunch of different options.
Kevin, the number is 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. Take a quick break. Back with more Scott Major next. All right, stand by.
coming up. Oh, and if you're thinking of making a complaint call to management right now, don't bother. His dad owns the station. News Talk at 101.
Five shy of 8 o'clock. Scott Major with us. Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. Always extremely helpful to everybody. 844-800-LAWS. 844-800-LAWS. The prices, that comes into play. A lot of people have that question. A lot of people also have the question of when to get an attorney involved. And I know that's a very broad answer to that, but there are people that are going through various things. I'm always shocked at the different things. Termites, for crying out loud. Can you give a little bit of advice on how to determine whether someone needs to use you?
Sure. The key to understand is if you haven't been paid all of your money as of today, April 2nd, you need a lawyer. Let me repeat. If you haven't been paid, you need a lawyer. This is insanity that the residents of Bay County or the neighboring counties, Gadsden and these other counties, have had to wait to get paid. Now, if you want to call our office or whatever lawyer you want, and you want to discuss your options and then decide what to do, you can do that. But I wouldn't wait another minute. I wouldn't go through any more heartache, headache, frustration, aggravation, and I would get a professional involved who knows what they're doing and can be aggressive on your behalf to get you the compensation that you need. I've yet to have a single person in the many years I've done this and the thousands of claims that I've handled explain to me why it would not, after 4 or 5 months, be a good idea to have a lawyer involved on your behalf. I've never had anybody successfully demonstrate why you should continue to go on without a lawyer. I don't care who you have in your team. You need to have a lawyer at 5 months out when the damages are done, and the insurance company should have backed up that truck to your house a long time ago.
Scott Major from Major Parúas, 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. Fantastic hour. Thank you, Scott, and have a great rest of your day, bud.
Hey, thanks so much, and thanks for all you do for the community. I really appreciate it.
Thank you as well. Talk to you soon.
Bye now. Okay.
More of the Kramer Show next. News Talk at 101.
It's super duper.